Hello, everyone. It is so awesome to see so many familiar names in our participants list. Thanks so much for joining today for our Motionworks webinar. Today, we are going to be discussing how to use population movement data to better empower business decisions using our new heat mapping solution, Popcast. My name is Kim Frank. I know a lot of you who are attending today, but for those of you who haven't met me before, I joined Motionworks about 2 years ago, having previously led the organization known as Geopath for about 6 years. My background is in media and market research. I've worked throughout all kinds of channels, television, radio, digital, vendors, agencies, publishers, all sides of the equation, and came over to Motionworks, where I lead marketing, enterprise sales, partnerships, and international. And I am joined today with Jules Bokers, who's going to introduce herself.
Thanks, Kim. And thanks again for everybody who joined us today. I'm Jules. I've worked in, my career in marketing and media agencies, had the opportunity to come over to then Intermix, and then where Kim lovely rebranded us as Motionworks to really capture what we're doing beyond in embracing population intelligence, which you'll hear all about today.
Great. So to kick things off, I want to talk a little bit about Motionworks and what sets us apart from the competition. I know there's a lot of location data players out there. I think Motionworks is a little bit different. So most companies that work in the mobility space, they start by identifying places that are important to their company or important to their clients. Motionworks turns that paradigm on its head. Our focus is on total population movement. So simply put, Motionworks provides past, present, and predictive insights on how the total population moves everywhere, all the time. And when we say everywhere, we mean every point of interest, geographic regions, roadways, and pedestrian pathways across the country. And what really sets us apart is that we don't just measure how many people are in a location, we measure how many people are not. We're measuring the total population everywhere, all the time. So this ensures that our metrics are currency grade. In fact, we are currently involved in providing currency level metrics for more than 250,000 place-based displays across North America. Not only do we measure displays that have already been installed, we're helping out-of-home operators identify ideal locations for future installs. So where should they put their next signage location, whether they're inside of a transit hub, a restaurant, a movie theater, or on the side of a highway. We rolled our solutions out into Canada earlier this year. We are building out our full suite of solutions there before we integrate across the rest of the world. So we have an international play at hand, but right now focus is on the US. Another big differentiator for Motionworks as a company is our commitment to the responsible, privacy compliant, and ethical use of location data. Many companies in the location data space are focused on devices and the movement of those devices within a point of interest. Motionworks is focused on measuring the full anonymized population, on measuring people, not devices. Our approach is free from PII, it's completely anonymized, and it cannot be reverse engineered to expose any kind of sensitive information. In order to build our total population measurement solution, we start with data from multiple SDK aggregators. Right now, we have partnerships with 4 large aggregators. We utilize data from connected cars. We have tens of thousands of first-party data sets that we're integrating, such as transactional data or sensor data. So much more goes into the model. Utilizing machine learning, we cleanse and deduplicate the mobile location data. We cull that data down to a panel of devices that's statistically representative, giving us data all the time, really accurate location data. We observe those devices over the course of 90 days to determine their hourly activity patterns. We then use an AI-generated synthetic data set. It's basically a digital twin of every person in the country. And we utilize that digital twin to project up the activity patterns to the total population. So I just summarized our entire methodology in one slide and about 4 sentences. I would be happy to geek out with anybody on the call who wants to know more about our methodology. You can contact us at info@mworks.com. You can contact me at Kim, that's Kim with a Y, at mworks.com, and I'd be happy to geek out with you all day about that methodology, but we're not going to do that today because today we're going to talk about our Popcast product. So please reach out to me if you want to learn more about that. I'm going to pass the baton over to Julie, who's going to talk a little bit about our product.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kim. So before diving deeper into the product details for our topic today, tying together the approach to population intelligence that Kim just outlined from a methodological standpoint, and how does that shape our products? We build that complete view of the population that, we use to describe a target population, target places, and paths at points through time. How often does a target population travel to a specific place on a path? That's where we're looking to answer these broader questions. And so from those data anchors, we're looking at combining our software engineering and our data science chops into this cohesive product vision. We really want to put problem solving and decision-making power in the hands of folks who wouldn't normally have easy access to these rich data sets. We think about these anchors being the questions that you need answered. What are the problems that you're trying to solve in your business and for your communities? Are you looking to understand more about a particular type or group of people's location and behavior? There we use Popcast, that foundation of population data. It tells us how many, what kind of people live and move around a particular place or area. We also can add custom layers of population segmentation information on any of our products using Popcast as that foundation. We can, as Kim mentioned, we pull in first-party data sets. We are integrating some of our customers as well, so we can create custom cohorts, as well as layering in crosstab versions of attributes that we have in our library of population data as well. Maybe we want to start with a place, a group of places, or a region where you're looking to find out about the visitors and the trends through time of who is visiting there, how many, how long are they staying, what are events, dwell time, visitation frequency, residential distribution as a trade area analysis. All of these is where we would look to our Placecast product to focus on. Or finally, when you're most interested in how, when, and who are using particular roadways, we leverage Pathcast. It provides information detailing the type, the volume, the frequency, and the speed of trips on a specific link, a particular segment of road. It also includes aggregated data on who's traveling through that link and how often and where they reside. But no matter where you first begin, we're really looking to provide, more than the typical location analytics. It's that population intelligence everywhere that Kim mentioned. So now shifting into the core product today, which is that foundation, our Popcast product. We're looking at quantifying those populations and where they live within specific geographies, qualified by our syndicated and custom cohorts. So Popcast at home is where people live. And then the latest advancement in our product releases is this Popcast anytime, being able to quantify those same population cohorts, but where they spend time throughout the day. So on down to a postal code level for right now, and then getting into more granular in the future, looking at where people spend time and the rich insights that you can gain through that. We'll walk through a couple use cases now, but we're excited to be able to share this with you and really get this into the marketplace and really start answering more questions and providing answers for those business decision making. Quick summary of those product attribute details through time and cadence. So we currently in our application today have data vintages going back to full year 2022 and to 2023 year to date. We do update this data on a monthly basis. And with the US and Canada pending, as Kim mentioned, looking to roll out the full suite of our solutions very shortly there and across North America, and getting down from the designated market area down to the postal code on geographic granularity at this point in this release. And in other avenues that we have for data delivery beyond just our core CityCast application, we do have data sets going back to 2019. And additional granularity on the geographic side coming as well. So exciting stuff. Now I'd love to walk you through a couple of the use cases that we've identified where we think there's real power in these tools. And obviously, whenever we have an opportunity to talk to our potential customers in different industries and verticals, we're always excited. They're always bringing new ideas to us about how we can continue leveraging this information in new ways. To start out with market sizing, really baseline, but where we take these rich market cohorts and look at the geographies where they're living to be able to quantify, you know, an addressable market in a geography. An example here, looking at people that are most likely to buy natural products that are influenced by their concern for the environment on a county basis, at the zip code level, et cetera. We'll go through some of these in a demo to follow. I'll pause here. I know Kim had mentioned you might want to jump in at some point. I kind of rail through this. If you want to comment on anything, leave it open.
Keep going.
Okay, I'll keep going. So other use cases that are, I'm sure, near and dear to a lot of the folks on this call that come to us through our out-of-home connections. So looking at how we identify the most, you know, targeted and efficient locations where a media agency, advertiser, or operator can place advertising to reach those targets. So in this example, and looking at a Popcast Anytime product, where beer drinkers spending time where they're going to be making those decisions about what beverage to select. So looking by day type and time of day for those insights. Looking for retail real estate. I'll show you and walk through an example of how we can isolate through geography and time and those cohort selections where there's opportunities to target and potentially find gaps in the market where your heavy coffee drinkers are, but that aren't currently served by a major chain. And finally, looking at a couple vehicle and transit related use cases, looking at where we might want to deploy electric vehicle charging stations based on this propensity for people to be in the market or currently own an electric vehicle. And similarly, as we look at transportation, where a lot of the data scientists in our group have come from in the transportation modeling and travel demand modeling world, they're very excited about how do we continue to leverage all of these data sets to tell stories to potentially get cars off the road and encourage use of transit. Or in the out-of-home world, we know we're working with Ubers and Lyfts a lot and the media opportunities that exist there. And how do we potentially allow them to target where their vehicles should be located to really leverage the activity that's in a particular marketplace. So as Kim mentioned, I'm going to dive into the demo now. But we have info at MWorks, Jules at MWorks, and Kim at MWorks.com if you want to follow up with any other questions. And of course, we'll have a Q&A following the demo. I'm going to stop share for just a moment and switch over to the demo screen. So walking through a couple of those use cases that we just discussed, I think it's valuable to see a live demo of what this looks like in the CityCast application. One of the exciting things, though, as we continue to broaden the application of our data is how this is also feeding into data marketplaces as well as direct APIs. So we view this as an entry point, but not the only way that our data and insights can be utilized. So starting from that Popcast at home use case where we were looking at where people were looking to buy natural products and how that might tie into particular retailers, targets, or other focus for D2C brands, et cetera. You'll see here how I do have a saved population segment here. I'm going to go through the process of selecting it directly, but you can see for types of cohorts that are most interesting, you can save those and have those readily accessible for analyzing them in different ways as you want to target different geographies, different timeframes, et cetera. The process of selecting them is made quite easy. But let's just say I'm going to use a quick keyword search, concerned about the environment when buying natural products. I'm going to apply that here. I instantly see some of the shading of the heat map indicating where people are most likely to demonstrate that behavior by geography. And I'm going to filter down further. Let's look at we can go to the county level to start with. I'm going to drill down even further in just a moment. Looking at, let's just go back to our favorite New York market. So this is at a county level, and that can be interesting depending on your target and how you want to be able to potentially filter on other media or use that as a data set looking at population for your addressable market. That might be the best granularity on the geography level. There's a lot of cases though we want to dig a little bit deeper. Let's look at that on the postal code level. And then I'm also going to show a couple more aspects of our functionality here. So what we're looking at is a heat map, showing from highest to lowest of this is target composition percentage of where that target population is residing. You can see here in our summary table, the aggregation of all of those geographies that exist in like over 1,000 postal codes in the New York DMA. And some of the functionality here that we can actually say, okay, I want to filter these geographies based on higher indexes or particular composition percentages beyond that. And you can see how spread apart these are. Where I think this is interesting, depending on your use case, is being able to target and really hone in on the areas that are going to deliver the most efficiency in particular location-based media formats or other things. I'm going to clear this for a moment so we go back to our full view. And one of the core outputs of being able to look at this is sorting or isolating a particular batch, as I just filtered, and then being able to save this as a geography set. If I save that targeted list, let's say I want to look at the arbitrarily just a little bit, the top 50 zip codes for a particular purpose, I can save that as a geography set, top 50 natural products, NYC DMA. And then I can use this as a filter or a layer to display in other aspects of the application. So as I'm looking at places, as we dig in, as we talk about the other anchors that we had in those data points, our places library, where we've really focused a lot of our energy up to this point on media inventory, being able to layer that in and using it as a filter or a visualization tool. Our key is being able to do something in one part of the application and have that leverage throughout. So a little more housekeeping on the application. I can click here and view these results instead of summary mode in a table where all of these can be sorted by target population, percent, and index. I can then export that full detail here. I have opportunities to order my columns, and as we have additional data sets layered into here, being able to see those as well. Quick navigation, clicking back through. This also works to export this. So this is our Popcast at home, where you see the core metrics is where the quantification of where people live, the composition index, and the composition percentage. Now you will see if I switch over to Popcast Anytime, I'm able to retain those selections. I can look at those same groups of people in the same markets, but now I can also filter on where do those people go during the day. And let's say I want to look at let's say days of the week when people are out and about. Let's look at, we're coming into winter season. I want to look at seasonality wise, where do these people go on a daily basis when they're out of their home? So I can look to potentially target them in different ways. When they're out of their home, I can apply that here. And now I have the heat map based on exactly that, where people are moving and spending time throughout the day. These summaries actually look at the aggregation of my full data set. So it can be a little bit more interesting to broaden this out to a whole 24-hour period to show the difference between where people live and where people go and spend time. But if you want the aggregation and like those filters and summary levels to be isolated to where people spend time during the day, you can do that as well. Let's just say We can hit play and see a little bit of that movement as those metrics are changing for each hour of the day. Quick other notes that are different for Popcast anytime versus at home. We have an opportunity for the summary level data, which is, again, the aggregation of all of the months and hours that you have requested as a part of that time frame, or the full data set. So because it's so large, you can export 3 months at a time, but I'm able to get for every single one of these hours, for every single one of these geographies, for every average day type and month, a single line on an Excel export. It allows you to really get some rich insights and flexibility there. I know that's one of Kim's favorite things, is to be able to slice and dice the data in unique ways to tell different stories and get different answers depending on the need. So that is one of our use cases, walking through that, where people live and go that are most likely to buy those natural products based on environmental concern. Walking through a couple others, let's go back to our saved audiences. So this is one that I thought was really interesting. Excuse me. I'm going to quickly do a reset all. Oh, one quick thing I didn't show you. In this example, I was able to, you can pull in place sets as a layer. So I had Whole Foods as a particular retailer that might be interested in this particular target, and being able to see how a particular group of geographies overlays, again, to be able to compare and visualize and kind of tell that story for a brand advertiser for all kinds of different reasons, for store location targeting. Are there gaps where there's that high targeting or not? Okay, so resetting all. We can start from scratch and go into the next. Let's look at that coffee house drinker. So I, in this case, am have a new coffee house chain that I'm trying to, I have a single location I'm trying to make into a chain. And I am in the Cincinnati DMA. I want to see, are there places where I could look at gaps in the marketplace where maybe a company like Starbucks has holes that I could target to see. Let's see. One moment. There we go. Now we are looking at zip codes for Cincinnati. At any given point in time, we also have this filter option, so you can see what those selections have been made in the past. And now I'm going to look at, let's look at some prime coffee drinking hours. Let's look at weekdays. That's fine. Okay, now we can see where those types of people go during the day, especially during these time frames. I can see several of these zip codes that index over index 139, 133. We can go to, I want to filter that. Anybody that over indexes. There we go. And then let's go back to our handy place set tool. And I can look at Starbucks in the Cincinnati market. And I think it's kind of interesting. We immediately kind of see where there's people going and spending time during the day in prime coffee drinking times, where there are gaps in the Starbucks market, where a local retailer could find opportunities to leverage those gaps. All kinds of interesting applications in all of these ways. I'm going to keep clearing. And again, if I wanted to export that data, I'd be able to in a couple different ways. I'm just recapping a little bit of the different views we have here, is being able to look at it in all of the different types of metrics that we can view and sort by. Again, this is all by zip code, because I think at the lowest level geography, it's kind of the most interesting to review the Popcast Anytime data set. But again, we aggregate that up, state, DMA, CBSA, county, et cetera, and allow those filters in those logical combinations as well. So if I continue through, let me just show a classic. Let's say I had used most of our consumer profile examples over here. But if I wanted to get more into, let's say, speak Spanish at home, a lot of times that's a trigger for how advertisers want to make sure that they're leveraging the right creative in a market. So I'm going to apply that. I'm going to clear the layers and displays. I no longer want to look at Starbucks. Let's look at, I can look at the whole state of Georgia. All places I've lived, New York and Georgia, not Cincinnati. So looking at it at a county level, it's easy to tell that story of being able to show this, where people live and where people go during the day as they're having opportunities to go through the marketplace as you want to target particular areas for your different language creative. Another application there. Kim, I'm going to toss it back and see if you have other of the use cases that I could walk through, or questions have come in that I can help answer while we're at it.
Can you hear me, Jules?
Yes.
Great. So just a couple questions. You mentioned earlier that there were other geographic granularities available in other ways. Can you elaborate on the geographic granularity of the product and the other ways in which the data are available?
Yes, thank you. We have the next release on this is going to include down to the block group level, which we know is very important for lots of different analysis, especially as we look to provide answers for different industries and verticals. Getting down further than that, we'll be looking at that H3 cell. That's probably a little bit further down, but in the near term, being able to look at the block group level. And in terms of other data delivery, we're finalizing the APIs very close to that, so that all of these data sets can be visualized via direct data, as well as map tiles. We're working on API integrations there, as well as more of a data dump. If you want just the data set as it stands instead of a functional API or within an interface, looking, we're integrated with Snowflake, and you would probably be able to answer better than I if there's other data marketplace integrations available as well now.
So Jules, I'm not seeing any more questions in the Q&A at this point in time. So I do want to welcome all of you who attended to reach out to us. We are info@mworks.com, Jules@mworks.com, or Kim with a Y, not spelled out Kim with a Y, just KYM @mworks.com. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our products. We're open to having people test and play and hang out and give us feedback on what we've built. Thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And we hope you'll join us for future webinars with Motionworks.
Thank you all. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.